Hello there. As you may well know, usually the start of the year signals a lot of new seasons in a lot of competitive games. Whilst I'm not here to talk about what to specifically improve or even talk about a specific game, I'm here to talk about what mental state you should be in to improve. Please note, just as a bit of a disclaimer, I'm not a professional in either the games industry or the medical industry. This is based on my own experiences and a little bit of research. Watch it and form your own opinions. Oh, almost forgot. You guys don't want to look at a black screen whilst I talk. Let me get some background game footage for you guys. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. This is Dark Souls. If you don't know what this game is by now, I don't really know what to say to you. Anyways, what else am I forgetting? Oh, yes, some chill background music. Here, listen to this. So, are you these ELOs? Or these ELOs? Or these? Maybe even these? Or any other game that has that sort of tier system? Chances are you are one of three things that may be affected you. Either you're not trying to grasp the fundamentals, you're not challenging yourself, or you're letting your pride and ego get in the way. If you've realised that you're one or more of these things, then you've already taken the first step to improve. By clicking on this video and by realising that you're accepting that you as a player need to improve, this is a good thing. It shows that you're passionate enough to want to be better. It shows that you can see past your pride, and most importantly, it shows that you have potential. So, now what? You're obviously not going to magically improve now that you've figured out that you need to improve. Do note that each person has to approach this in their own way. There's no one plan fits all. However, here are some tips to help you get started. Maybe give you some direction on what or how to improve. Tip number 1. Get the fundamentals. In my experience of playing a variety of competitive games, there's a lot of people out there who just play. What I mean by this is that they play loads and loads and loads of games, almost to the point of mindlessness, hoping that it will just click for them and that they'll improve. And for the small majority of people, this actually happens, which is good for them, but it won't happen for the majority. The majority of people need to have a plan in mind for each game. Furthermore, they need to plan on what to improve, how, where, and when. What's worse is that many people think that they have a plan, or they have a vague sense of what they need to improve, but then either they don't know how to improve in that area, or they don't have consistent meaningful practice in that area, or their assessment of their skill is completely wrong. Often they overcomplicate what they need to improve. This is mainly because a lot of the big YouTubers and streamers either have clickbait, which is there to entertain rather than to teach, so videos such as, "Wow, this champion can 1v9," or "OMFG, this gun is broken, new strategy." Those videos are there for more entertainment than to actually teach. They are there to get views rather than to impart knowledge. Or there are videos which are labelled as guides, but they are either too brief and they only give an absolute surface level on what they need to do, but not how to do it, or they make it too complex by attempting to teach some abstract high-level technique without explicitly informing the viewer that they need to have the fundamentals on top. Because obviously, if you're going to teach such a high-level technique, usually those people who are teaching often assume, even if subconsciously, that those people are near or at that level that they themselves are in. Whilst watching gameplay videos offer a base level of understanding on what's shown, it's nowhere near the full picture, and you need to understand that videos and live streams, even mine, don't make you improve via osmosis, at least not well enough. You need to delve deeper into what you need to improve, not what everyone needs to understand. So, how do you establish trying to grasp the fundamentals? Well, simply identifying them is a good start. This could mean knowing what the spray pattern of a gun is, knowing what items to buy and when, or simply trying to understand the map layout. These might all seem simple by just saying that, but this is why they are called fundamentals. You'd be surprised about how many people forget about them, or don't execute them well, or don't even know them to begin with, even especially at your ELO. Not to mention there are many other areas that I cannot even begin to comprehend for every competitive game out there. But what if you know all the fundamentals, but you can't do them well enough? Chances are you haven't meaningfully practiced enough in that area, or something somewhere is going wrong. In which case, usually there's 3 steps to take, in my opinion. First, you need to try and find where you're going wrong. Sometimes it's simple mistakes that pile up over time. Other times it's a massive grave error that pulls everything out of sync. Either way, spotting your own mistakes is a great way, both in time and effort, to improve. See what you did wrong? Don't do it again. It's that simple. If you can't spot where you're going wrong, don't worry. Grab a friend, review the VOD or replay with him or her, ideally. A friend who's maybe 1 or 2 tiers higher than you. It doesn't matter if they specialize in a different area of the game. It's the fundamentals that you should be looking at, not necessarily specific techniques. Think of it as proofreading your work, and keep an open mind to the criticism. Note down what needs to be improved and apply it in your next match, or a practice tool if you're not confident enough yet. If you don't have a friend or you're still not seeing results, get a coach. You don't have to pay for one. There are many people out there who are willing to help out players who are struggling. I'll leave links as to where you can find coaches to various games in the description. Do the same as you did with your friend, or what you would do if you didn't get anyone. And remember to keep an open mind. Given that they're practically a stranger to you, they're likely to be a little bit harsher in the way that you play. This is a good thing. Embrace that criticism, and if you don't understand what they're talking about, asking them if they can show you an example or go through a match in real time is a good way to understand and apply, and therefore improve. Do keep in mind that you may not want to have a super high ELO coach, as often they might not be as free as some of the others, and some of the information may be a bit too highbrow. It might go over your head. Remember, these are fundamentals you're trying to get down, not every niche hard to execute techniques. Don't run before you can walk, or you'll end up tripping over. Tip number 2. Don't blame or compare yourself to your teammates. This, I think, is the most important tip, as in my experience, this is the most common mistake. Almost every game I play or even watch in ranked, I see one person having some sort of mental breakdown because either they've made a mistake or and they're projecting their failures onto others, or they see a small mistake or slight misfortune from a teammate and fly off the handle thinking that they can't do anything. Or they're tilted from a previous match and want to take it out on someone because they have real life stresses that they're unable to deal with at that moment, so they get rid of that stress through the game. These people are a part of the challenge in competitive games. When I think about what makes up a player's skill overall, it's usually 2 to 10% is the meta, 45 to 49% is mechanical skill and strategic knowledge, and the rest is your own mental. And whilst you can't avoid them altogether, and whilst I hope that someday competitive games will be less toxic than they are now, there are a few ways to deal with these sorts of people, and a few ways to stop yourself from becoming this sort of person. First off, if you're on the receiving end of this sort of blame, chances are they're not going to listen to you. The single best way to not be affected by this is to simply mute them and focus on your gameplay. If you feel that they're being particularly toxic, throw in a report at the end of the game. odds are they've been digging their own grave as they've been hurling insults at the brick wall known as your mute button, and hopefully this will cause them to go on a small vacation as they simmer down. If you absolutely have to respond to them, just briefly explain what happened in about 10 words or less, try to move on, try to keep it as neutral in tone as possible, and don't stoop down to their level, even if you are slightly tilted about what they're saying. It's just not worth the hassle, and if they keep blaming you after the fact, just mute them. If you find that one of your teammates is getting the blame from another, don't confront the one that's pinning the blame. That'll only cause more tilt and perhaps shift the blame onto you. What you should do instead is encourage the teammate that's getting the blame. Stuff like, don't worry, we'll get them next round, or everyone makes mistakes, it's okay, let's keep going. If you really can't push yourself to say outwardly positive things because it's cringe, don't worry, I get you. Make it more neutral with, it's fine, don't worry. Encouraging your teammates gives a morale boost whilst taking away power from the person who's shifting the blame. Once the majority think it's okay, chances are it is indeed okay. After all, low ELOs can make mistakes all the time and still win, so it's okay if people slip up from time to time. If they keep doing the blame game, or shift the blame to you for the simple act of talking, mute them and just hope that your teammate does too. Lastly, if you are the one who has this sort of habit, and you know who you are, simply not saying a word is sometimes better than expressing your annoyance at a play. The person who made that mistake, most of the time, will know that they made that mistake. Maybe not how they made it, but that they just did. That's a lesson for them to learn, not for you to teach, especially not in game. Again, if you have to say something, try and make it a bit more positive, but don't tell them what to do. Good examples are nice try, or NT for short, or close, but only use that one if it was indeed close. Keeping the morale up will decrease the likelihood of more mistakes occurring. If you think the mistake is that bad and you still have to say something, at least keep it neutral. Stuff like unlucky or that's unfortunate are phrases that should come to mind. Just think about it for a second. Saying what are you doing or how are you so bad is only confrontational and will only lead to more tilt and more mistakes that you didn't even want to see in the first place. Everyone, including you, your teammates, and the enemy team are human. To human is to err. We all make mistakes from time to time. Tip number 3. Take care of yourself. I know this might sound a bit silly, but indulge me here. Stop watching this video for a few minutes and go do something that will make you feel better. Take a shower, eat some nice food, take a walk, talk to your family, send a meme to your friend. If you have no motivation to do any of these things, at the very least just have a stretch, take some deep breaths. You're back? How do you feel compared to a few minutes ago? Better? If so, try incorporating that into your rank sessions. Usually I do around 2 to 3 matches depending on how well I've done, and then I take a mini break, either by having a little walk, getting a snack, or talking with my family. Doing so resets your mind if you're having some bad games, and stops you from getting fatigued if you're having some good games. But remember, this changes from person to person. Some will split breaks between every match, others may go on for 4 or 5 and then take a break. Some will go to the gym, others will look up meme videos on YouTube. It's up to you to decide what's best and most comfortable for your routine. These are short-term solutions, but we can take this a step further and think about the long term. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you staying clean? Are you getting any exercise? If you're lacking in any of these things, it will catch up to you and it will affect how you feel physically, which will affect how you feel mentally, which ultimately will affect your performance in games. If you're low ELO, I'm 99.9% sure that you're not playing this game as your job, even if you want to in the future. Put your life and self-care first, and then think about trying to rank up. Keeping your mind and body in check will allow you to feel better going into games, to perform better in-game, and to help recover better in case things go wrong. One last note to those people who play day in and day out. Sometimes the way you need to rank up is to not play. It may seem counterintuitive, but taking a break from the game for a day or two can go a long way, especially if you're feeling burnt out. If you think you're going to be bored during the break because you only have that one game to play, try a different game during that break. As long as you don't leave it too long, you won't get rusty by the time you come back. And if you do, practice a little in normals just to shake it off before going into ranked. It really isn't that big of a deal. If you're going to forget everything in this video, please just remember this. Take care of yourself. You, your body, and your mind should always be the #1 priority. That's it for this video. I'm not going to tell you to do any of that fancy YouTube algorithm stuff. You do you, King. But if you do want to ask some questions, or you want to suggest what I should do next, feel free to hit me up on Twitch. Link is in the description. Hope to see you again soon.